When modeling fractions divided by fractions or solving fractions divided by fractions at any time, the first thing that you need to do is make sure that your expression is simplified. So 1/3 is already in simplest form, but 6/8 I can simplify. So 6/8, if I divide that by 2/2, which I know is equivalent to 1, so I'll get an equivalent fraction. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So therefore, I know that 6/8 is the same as 3/4. All right, once I have that simplified, I'm going to put it back into my expression. So I have 3/4 divided by 1/3. When modeling this, it's important to know exactly what's happening when you're dividing. So when you are dividing, you are actually finding how many groups of 1/3 are in 3/4. So how many groups of 1/3 are in 3/4. To figure that out, it's hard to visualize. So I need to make a model. I'm going to model 3/4, and I'm also going to model 1/3. I'm going to try to make my models the same size, because anytime you're dealing with fractions, it's important that your wholes are the same size. Okay, so with 3/4, I'm going to make this one horizontal. I always like to make one horizontal and one vertical. It doesn't matter which way, but so that's 2 sections, 3 sections, 4 sections, and I'm going to shade in 3 of those sections since it is 3/4. For 1/3, I'm going to make this one, since I did that horizontally, I partitioned it horizontally, I'm going to partition this one vertically. Just makes it a little bit easier to work with. And I'm going to partition 1/3. All right, now still remember that I'm reading this, how many groups of 1/3 are in 3/4. My model is getting a little closer, but I can't figure out exactly how many of this size rectangle are in this size rectangles, because my pieces are different sizes. So now I'm going to make them the same size. So I'm going to take my 3/4 and I'm going to partition it now into thirds. And I'm going to partition my thirds over here into fourths. And so now you can see that I actually made common sizes, which again is the same thing as finding a common denominator. But now I know exactly how many pieces 1/3 equals. So I know that 1/3 equals 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. And it's 4 pieces of 12ths, but it's not extremely important to understand that it's 12ths, just that the fact that you have the same size pieces in each of your models. So I know I'm looking for 4 pieces. So when I find groups of 1/3 in 3/4, I know that every time I find 4 pieces, that's one group of 1/3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. This right here is one group of 1/3 in 3/4. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's another group of 1/3 inside 3/4. So far I have 1, 2 entire groups, but then I have one little piece left over. Now remember that it's how many groups of 1/3. So I have 1 out of the 4 pieces it would take to make 1/3. So my answer is actually 2 and 1/4, because I have 2 whole groups of 1/3 in 3/4, and I have 1/4 of another group of 1/3 in 3/4. Okay, so therefore my answer is 2 and 1/4. And because I made these equivalent, I know that 6/8 divided by 1/3 is 2 and 1/4.